Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ryan Awesome, and welcome to the Ryan Awesome Show. Now, today on the Ryan Awesome Show, I'll be talking about AEW Dynamite for May 5th, 2021. Now, man, with this show, man, it was a good show. It was a really good show. I loved the main event. The main event, it was the best match on the show, but I didn't like the ending of the main event, but it was still a great match. And that's the only match that I did care about on this match. Because they built the show. Because the show is blood and guts, so they built the show around the blood and guts match, and so everything else on the show. There were great matches. There were good matches and everything, but I didn't care about most of the matches on the show. I only cared about the main event with the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle. And so yeah, so this show right here, it felt like a pay-per-view. It felt like a pay-per-view, but they added more matches to the show. But yeah, and then another thing, man, they had a live crowd, so that was nice. It was nice to see a live crowd there. So the crowd, they did play a part to the show. They were interested in the show. You did hear the crowd during the show, so that was really nice. And so yeah, man. And so yeah, this is the AEW Dynamite review for May 5th, 2021 on the Ryan Awesome Show. And if you haven't done this already, man, what are you waiting for, man? Hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. And right next to that subscribe button, there's a bell. Make sure you click on that bell so you'll be the first ones to know when my next video will come out because I'm here each and every single week. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and you turn on that bell for all notifications so you don't miss out. And so yeah, so first off, we started off the show. It was gonna be the tag team match with Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa versus Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. And so first off, you had Don Callis that came out with Michael Nakazawa. And so yeah, so Callis, he had grabbed the microphone and he said that Michael Nakazawa, Kenny Omega is not here. Kenny Omega is not here tonight. And so Michael Nakazawa, you're gonna be fighting in a handicap match. You're gonna be fighting against Moxley and Kingston tonight by yourself. And so yeah, the commentary team knew that he was lying. The commentary team knew that Callis was lying, and Kenny Omega, he was there. We all knew Kenny Omega was there. And so yeah, so Moxley and Kingston had came out together, through the crowd, and so Omega had attacked both Moxley and Kingston, during their entrance from behind, and so the match had started. And so Omega and Nakazawa, they took control of the early parts of the match. And so yeah, we had a black hole slam to Omega from Moxley. So Kingston and Moxley were fighting back. And so yeah, we had a tope suicida to Omega and Nakazawa from Moxley. And so yeah, we had a low blow. We had a low blow to Eddie Kingston from Nakazawa behind the referee's back. And so Kenny Omega, he had a Kataru Crusher on Kingston. And then Omega and Kingston, at first, they were going back and forth with chops. And we had a hot tag to Moxley. He took out Nakazawa and Omega. And we had a German suplex to Nakazawa from Moxley. And we had a power driver. We had a power driver to Nakazawa from Moxley. And Omega, he had stopped the pin. And so, yeah, so Moxley and Kingston, they were taking control of the match. And so Omega, he had walked out on his own partner. He had walked out, walked away from the match while Nakazawa was fending off for himself. And so, yeah, we had a half and half suplex. It was a half and half clothesline combo. So it was a half and half suplex clothesline combo from Moxley and Kingston to Nakazawa to win the match. So Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, they won the match. And so right after that, Moxley and Kingston, they were celebrating their victory and everything. And so you had the Bucks, you had the Young Bucks, they had came out, dressed in like beach clothes and stuff like that, like shorts and, just clothes that you wear to the beach. And so they were taunting, Moxley and Kingston. And so, yeah, from behind you had the Good Brothers, you had Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. They attacked Moxley and Kingston from behind. And so, yeah, they had gave a magic killer to Moxley. And so the Bucks had went into the ring. They hit super kicks on, Moxley and Kingston. Matt Jackson, he had his feet, he had his shoes off, so he was barefoot. So he was hitting super kicks while barefoot. And so yeah, so Omega he had came back out right after he left, and so he had joined in on an attack. So Omega he had, you know, the elite that had held up Kingston. And so Omega had hit the One Wing Angel on Eddie Kingston. And so Nick, he was playing as the referee. And so he went to go count. He was like 1, 2, and 3 because nobody has ever kicked out. Nobody has ever kicked out a One Wing Angel. And so yeah, that was it with the segment. I really didn't care about the match. I did not care about this match. Like we all knew that Nakazawa was only there to take the pinfall. Moxley and Kingston, they weren't about to lose. They wasn't gonna lose. So that's why Nak was there. That's why Nakazawa was there to take the pinfall. And so Nakazawa, he did take the pinfall. And at first I didn't like at first how this match came about. About Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley wanting a match with Omega and Nakazawa instead of going after the Bucks and the tag team titles. I would have much rather had them fight for the tag team titles instead of having them fight against Omega and Nakazawa. But yeah, that was it with the match. I really didn't care about this match. I did not care about this match. And so yeah, right after this, man, we had another match, and it was QT Marshall with the Factory, Anthony Ogogo, Nick Comoroto, and Aaron Solow versus Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, with Arn Anderson in his corner. And so yeah, this is a good match, a really good match. But we did have some logic gaps in this match. Some parts in this match did not make any sense at all. It didn't make any sense at all, and I'm gonna get into that. And so yeah, so Cody Rhodes, he had came out to his theme music. I still don't like the theme music. With Snoop Dogg rapping over it. Just change it back to his original theme music. But yeah, so Cody, he went right after QT Marshall. And so Cody, he had took off his weight belt. He had his weight belt wrapped around his waist. And so he took it off. And he was about to use the weight belt. And so the referee had took it away from him. Referee had took it away from him, saying that Cody, you can't use this. You can't use this belt. And so the referee took it away, and you had QT. He had got a weight belt. How did he get a weight belt? Where did he get a weight belt from? But it was a black weight belt, so I don't even know where he got it from. And so he grabbed the weight belt, and he hit Cody with it. He hit Cody with the black weight belt. And so at that point, I was like ref, did you see that? It's a disqualification. I was like, he should have been disqualified. QT should have been disqualified off of that move. And so the referee didn't do nothing. The referee just took the belt away from QT and just threw it out of the ring. And I was like what? I was like, is this not a no disqualification match? Is this a no disqualification match? I was like, dude, why is the referee allowing this stuff to happen? And so yeah, we had a double underhook suplex to Cody Rhodes off the top rope, and we had a German suplex. We had a deadlift German suplex to Cody Rhodes, so that was nice. And then both of these guys, they were fighting outside the ring. QT and Cody were, and you had QT and Arn Anderson. They had got into it at one point. They had gotten each other's face. QT had shoved. He had shoved Arn Anderson in his face. And so Arn Anderson had, punched QT Marshall in his face. And the referee saw it. The referee saw it. And I was like, oh my gosh, referee, what are you doing? Why are you not DQing this guy? Why are you not DQing Cody? Because, dude, Arn Anderson, he got involved. He got involved in a match. So it should have been a disqualification 2 times. It should have been a disqualification. And so when I was watching this, I did not know what was going on. I did not know what was going on here. And so yeah, so the referee had kicked out Arn Anderson away from ringside, and the referees had to break them two up. And so yeah, QT, he had took control of the match during commercial break, picture in picture. And so yeah, we had a double crossbody to both of these guys. So they both hit each other with double cross bodies, and so they both knocked each other out. And QT, Cody Rhodes, he had pulled down QT's pants at one point. He pulled down his trunks, and his butt was showing. His butt crack was showing, and so they had to blur it out. And so, yeah, we had Cody Rhodes. He had a wicked DDT to QT. And so right after that, we had Cody. He had a moonsault to QT, and QT at that point he was reversing Cody Rhodes. Signature moves. The Cody Cutter, he reversed that, and the disaster kick, he reversed that. And so QT, he had hit Cody Rhodes with his own finishing move, the Crossroads. And so Cody Rhodes had kicked out of the Crossroads. And so QT, he had muscled up Cody Rhodes into a powerbomb position. It looked like he was struggling at first, but he had muscled him up with a powerbomb. He had hit him with a buckle bomb and a turnbuckle. And so, yeah. And then both of these guys, they were trying to hit each other with tombstone power drivers. So they were reversing each other, going back and forth for reversals. tombstone after tombstone, power driver, reversal after reversal after reversal. So that was nice. And so yeah, and so Cody, he ended up, you know, taking control of the reversal. He took control of that, and he had a tombstone power driver to QT Marshall, and Marshall had kicked out. And I was like, oh my God, wherever the Undertaker is, he is not happy. He is not happy that somebody from AEW kicked out of his finishing move. The most protected finishing move in the business, the Tombstone Power Driver, and you have somebody like QT Marshall kicking out of the Tombstone Power Driver. I was like, the Undertaker, he is not happy. Wherever he is not happy. And so yeah, we had Cody Rhodes. He had a crossroads to QT, and QT had kicked out of the crossroads. And so, at one point, Cody Rhodes, he had helped up QT. The same thing that he did last time in the exhibition match. He had picked him up. And so, yeah, so he had locked in the figure four leg lock to QT. And so QT, he had tapped out. QT had tapped out. So, and then, Cody Rhodes, he was bleeding at one point. I don't know how he bled, what made him bleed, but he was bleeding over his eye. So he had blood like coming down his eyes. And so QT Marshall, he taps out. He taps out to the figure for a leg lock. And so Cody Rhodes, he wins the match. So right after that, we had Anthony Ogogo, a member of the Factory. He came out, walking to the ring. How didn't Cody Rhodes see him walk to the ring? I don't know. But yeah, so Anthony Ogogo, he took his time getting into the ring. And so yeah, gave Cody Rhodes a gut punch. So Cody Rhodes was knocked out with the gut punch. And so, and then Ogogo, he had his flag to his country. The UK, I guess, the United Kingdom flag. And he had put it over Cody Rhodes, and that was it. And so that was it with the match. And so at that point, I was like, dude, why didn't QT Marshall win the match? Why didn't QT Marshall win the match? Why did Cody Rhodes win the match? Why did Cody Rhodes had to win the match? I don't even know. Because he beat him in that exhibition match. He beat QT Marshall in an exhibition match. So I was guessing that, QT was going to get his win back. But he did not get his win back. It's the second time in a row that he lost to Cody Rhodes. And so, and then, dude, I was like, man, why does Cody keep winning? Why does Cody keep winning? He's a babyface. Babyface is, like, dude, he could take a loss. Cody Rhodes can take a loss, man. He is bulletproof. He can lose and still be better off for it. You know how big of a win that would have been for QT if you would have beat Cody Rhodes? Like, dude, I don't understand why Cody Rhodes won this match. It should have been QT Marshall. He should have had, you could have had one of the Factory guys got involved in the match. You could have had one of the Factory guys get involved in the match, and just screw over Cody Rhodes and made Cody Rhodes lose the match behind the referee's back. Like, getting involved behind the referee's back and just having Cody Rhodes lose by having a screwy finish, by having Cody Rhodes lose. So that would have been much better. That would have been much better to have QT Marshall win. I don't know why they gave the match to Cody. Don't even know. So yeah, that was it with the match. Really good match, but I would have much rather had QT Marshall win the match. And so yeah, right after that, we had an interview. And so yeah, Alex Marvez, he had interviewed Scorpio Sky and not Darby Allin, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. While they were in the crowd, and they were talking about Sting and Darby Allin and stuff like that, saying that they're not a big deal. Sting is not a big deal. And you wearing that face paint doesn't make you scary or nothing like that. And so you had, both of these guys that were talking. And so Darby Allin, he had blindsided both of these guys from behind. And so Darby, he had took out Sky and Page. And so Darby Allin, he had jumped off a platform and hit a coffin drop to Page. And so yeah, at one point you had Scorpio Sky, he had grabbed a trash can. He had grabbed a trash can and just threw it at Darby Allin's head. The trash can had hit him right in his head. And so yeah, so Page and Sky, they ganged up on Darby Allin. And so you had Scorpio Sky, he was wearing some spiked shoes. They said it was spiked Louis Vuitton shoes. And so you had Ethan Page, he had smeared Darby Allin's face into Scorpio Sky's spiked shoes, And so yeah, right after that, they had picked up Darby Allin. Yeah, Page, he had threw Darby Allin down a flight of stairs, concrete stairs. So that had to freaking hurt. That had to hurt really bad. And so, yeah, and they went to commercial break, and then the doctor, picture-in-picture commercial break. Yeah, the doctor, he had checked on Darby Allin, right after the attack and everything, checking to see if he was okay. And so that was it. That was it with that. And so yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with this. It might be a tag team match. Where was Sting? I wanted to know where was Sting. Why didn't Sting help out Darby Allin? I don't know. I was shocked that Sting didn't even show up on the show at all, man. I was shocked about that. But yeah, but Sting, he should have been there to save Darby Allin. But he wasn't there. Why he wasn't there, I don't know. But I guess we'll find out next week. And so yeah, right after that we had Dr. Britt Baker, D.M.D. with Rebel in our corner versus Julia Hart. And so yeah, this was an absolutely squash match. This was a squash match. So yeah, we had a sling blade to Hart, and then Baker, she had grabbed her glove for the preparation of the lockjaw. And so Julia Hart, she was fighting back at one point, but it wasn't working. And so you had Britt Baker had hit the air raid crash to Hart, and then she tried to go for the cover. She went for the cover, but she had turned it into the lockjaw. And so yeah, so Baker, she had locked in the lockjaw to Hart to tap out. So Hart had tapped out, so Britt Baker wins the match, and that was it. And so they made it official that Dr. Britt Baker, she will be going up against Hikaru Shida at Double or Nothing for the AEW Women's World Championship. So we all know who's gonna win that match. We all know who's gonna win the championship, and that is Dr. Britt Baker, D.M.D. So that title is going right to Britt Baker. And so yeah, right after that we had Taz. He was talking about Christian Cage and his, giving his techniques, I guess his critiques on Christian's moveset, the frog splash and the kill switch and everything. How Christian Cage hits the frog splash and how he hits the kill switch and everything. And he was gloating about Will Hobbs reversing the move and everything. And so, and Taz was telling Christian Cage that you have a long way to go if you want to get through Team Taz. And he was basically saying that, we're gonna end your little honeymoon that you've been on. We're gonna end your honeymoon that you've been on. And so yeah, that was it with that. And so yeah, so it looks like next is gonna be, I guess it's gonna be Christian Cage versus Ricky Starks because we haven't seen that yet. And then we're gonna have Christian Cage versus Brian Cage, so Cage versus Cage in the future. And so yeah, that was it with that. And so right after that, we had a tag team match. It was a 5-way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4-way, right? A 4-way tag, or eliminator tag, or something like that. And so yeah, it was the Varsity Blondes. That's Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. versus Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus with Marko Stunt. And so yeah, when Jungle Boy came out to the ring, the crowd had sung along to his theme music, Tarzan Boy. So that was really nice. And so versus SCU, that's Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels versus the Acclaimed, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. And so yeah, with this match, man, this was a cluster of a match. A cluster of a match. I could not take notes in this match. Like really, I could not take notes in this match. Like there was so many bodies around this ring. So many bodies. So yeah. So all these teams, they were brawling, they were fighting each other and everything. We had a double team move to Caster from the Blondes. I think it was like a double facebuster or something like that. And then you had Luchasaurus. He had tagged in, and he had took out SCU and the Acclaim with choke slams and kicks and everything. And you had Brian Pillman Jr. He had a jumping clothesline to Jungle Boy, and then he tried to pin Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy had kicked out. And so yeah, so all these teams, they were going back and forth, move after move after move, high flying move after high flying move. I'm telling you, I could not keep up in this match. And so to end the match, we had SCU. They hit their finishing move, the best moonsault ever, turned into a pile driver from Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels to one of these guys. I don't even remember who it was, but they hit the move on one of these team members. The other members of the teams. So Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, they win the match. And the winner of this match would have gone against the Bucks at next week on AEW Dynamite. So we all knew it was going to be SCU. So SCU had won a match, and so they will be fighting against the Young Bucks next week for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. And yeah, we all knew that SCU were going to win because last week they had challenged the Bucks to the Tag Team Championship match. And then they said that, if we lose as a tag team, we will not be tag teaming anymore. Me and Christopher Daniels, we will not be tag teaming anymore if we lose again. And so yeah, so that's what made the match predictable. By them challenging the Bucks last week and them having a stipulation on, if we lose, we're not going to tag team anymore. And so yeah, that was it with the match. The Bucks versus SCU should be a really great match next week. And of course, the Bucks will win. The Bucks are not losing to anybody right now. And so yeah, so the Bucks will win and SCU will break apart. And so yeah, that was it with that. Really, really could not take notes in this match. But yeah, we all knew that Frankie Kazarian and Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels were gonna win the match. And so yeah, right after that, man, we had Jon Moxley. He talks about Yuji Nagata and about their championship match next week on Dynamite for the IWGP United States Championship.
Mr. Jon Moxley, お前の挑戦を受けてやる。アメリカに永田裕二が帰ってくるんだ。You didn't think I was gonna hear what you said about me? You didn't think that message was gonna get passed across the Pacific? Think it's just gonna go right over my head? Called me a little punk. A little punk. I came to you with respect. I wanted to give you a shot at the IWGP United States Championship. I invite you to Dynamite with respect. I wanted to share the ring with the great legend Yuji Nagata. Great thing about this business is no matter how long you've been in it, even a legend like Yuji Nagata can always learn something. And Yuji Nagata will learn that your mouth can get you in trouble, especially when you're fixing a step in the ring with the baddest sumbitch in this game, Jon Moxley, especially when a championship is on the line. I'm gonna kick a hole through your chest. I'm gonna squeeze your neck. Squeeze every ounce of oxygen you have left in your body. I'm gonna dump you on the top of your head. We've always wondered for a long time, when is Yuji Nagata finally just not gonna get back up again? Well, I'll tell you this. It's coming pretty soon. Once that bell rings, I got no respect for anyone.
And that was it. So Jon Moxley saying that he's basically gonna choke this guy out and leave him lifeless in his ring, you know. And that was it. So next week is gonna be Jon Moxley defending his IWGP United States Championship match against Yuji Nagata. So that should be really good. So we have a New Japan Pro Wrestling talent showing up on Dynamite. So that Forbidden Door is opening up. And so yeah, right after that, we had Tony Schiavone. He interviews Kenny by God Omega, who is the AEW World Champion, the AAA World Champion, and the Impact and TNA World Champion. And so yeah, so Kenny Omega he had came out with Michael Nakazawa, and Nakazawa he was holding the TNA championships and the Impact World Championship and the AAA World titles. And so I was happy to see the Impact World titles on Dynamite. So I was like, yes, Omega came out with the titles finally. And so yeah, so Tony Schiavone he was talking to Omega. This segment was really long. It was really long, so I couldn't even find anything. So yeah, so Omega. So Tony Schiavone he was talking about. I guess yeah, he was talking about Kenny Omega's opponent. I guess yeah, his opponent is gonna be either Orange Cassidy or Pac. Orange Cassidy being the number one contender, I think it is. Yeah, he's the number one contender, right? Or Pac is the number one contender. I think it was the other way around. It's the number one contender is Orange Cassidy, and the number two contender is Pac. And whoever is gonna win between those two next week will go up against Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing for the AEW World Championship. And so, Omega he was saying that Pac he has beaten me in the past and everything. He has beaten me in the past and everything, but that was a different Omega. I'm paraphrasing. It was a different Omega, but Pac he's not gonna beat me. Whoever walks out, the victor will not beat me. And so yeah, so Orange Cassidy he had came out to the ring. He just came out walking to the ring, and Kenny Omega he was belittling Orange Cassidy, looking at him as a joke and everything, saying that it's gonna be Kenny Omega versus who? Kenny Omega versus who? And so Tony Schiavone he was like, Orange Cassidy is gonna be you versus Orange Cassidy if Cassidy wins. No, he was like Pac is gonna be either Pac or Orange Cassidy. It's gonna be either Pac or Orange Cassidy. And so yeah, and so Omega, he was making fun of Orange Cassidy, saying that you stole my gimmick, you stole the sunshades. I'm the one that made the sunshades famous and everything. And he had took his sunshades away from Orange Cassidy, and just walked away. Just walked away from Orange Cassidy. Just stole his championship, not his championship, stole his sunglasses and put it on Michael Nakazawa, saying that the sunglasses look better on Nakazawa than Orange Cassidy. And then he was saying that Orange Cassidy, you're not championship material. You're not championship material, and you don't belong in the same ring as me. You don't belong in the same ring as me. And so yeah, that was it. And they walked off. Orange Cassidy, he did nothing. He did nothing. So Orange Cassidy, he looked like a pushover. He looked like a pushover. He didn't do nothing. Like, dude, somebody took sunshades off your face, man. He took your sunshades and put it on somebody else, and then left, disrespected you in your face. So yeah, Cassidy, he looked like a pushover tonight. And so yeah, that was it. That was it with the segment. And so yeah, right after that, we had Tony Schiavone again. He interviewed not Kenny Omega. He interviewed Miro. So yeah, Miro, he had came out to the ring. He had some papers. He had some papers in his hands. And so, Miro, he was telling Tony Schiavone to read this. Like, read this paper, read what's on this paper, read it. And so, yeah, it was talking about the TNT Championship. Miro getting a shot at the TNT Championship, and if Darby Allin doesn't show up next week, he's gonna be stripped of the championship. Because Darby Allin, he had got taken out earlier that night, and so he had to show up next week. He had to show up next week, or he'll be stripped of the championship. Whether he's healthy or not healthy, he had to show up next week, or he'll be stripped of the title. And so yeah, so that was it. That was it with that. So Miro said that I want you to show up next week. I want you to show up next week, Darby Allin. I want you to show up next week. I don't want no handouts. I don't want you to forfeit this match. I want you to show up next week. And so that was it with that. That was it with that. And so at that point, I was like, dude, why is he going straight to after Darby Allin? I mean, I knew he was gonna go after the TNT Championship, but why does he have to start off with Darby Allin? Like, his first match being away from Kip Sabian is a match against the champion, the TNT champion Darby Allin, for the championship. Why is he not going against it? Why is he not going up against anybody else? Why is he not going through everybody to get to Darby Allin? Why is he going straight to Darby Allin? Like, dude, come on, dude. That's not how you earn a championship match. You gotta beat people. You gotta beat the people that's contending for that title. The people that's contending for the TNT championship, you gotta beat those guys first before you go after Darby Allin. Like, dude, that don't make any sense. It don't make any sense at all. No sense. And dude, he's done nothing. He's done nothing to warrant a championship match. So why is he getting a championship match? Why? Why is he getting a championship match? That's what I want to know. Why is he getting a championship match? Because he demanded a championship match? Like, dude, that's not how it works. You got to go through everybody else to get a championship match. But yeah, that was it with that. He don't deserve a championship match. That's the thing. Miro does not deserve a championship match. He been tag teaming with Kip Sabian this entire time. He been his freaking henchman, Kip Sabian's henchman the entire time. So why does he deserve a championship match when he's done nothing to warrant a championship? But yeah, that was it with that. And so yeah, for next week's show, we have next week's match for next week's show is going to be Darby Allin versus Miro. So Darby Allin, the TNT champion, with Sting in his corner, versus Miro next week for the TNT championship. Miro is not winning. He's not winning. Darby Allin retains. And we have Orange Cassidy. So Orange Cassidy is the #1 contender, because Page, he was the #1 contender, but Brian Cage had beat Adam Page last week. So Page had went down the list. He went down the rankings because he lost. And so yeah, Orange Cassidy is the new #1 contender for the AEW World Championship, and Pac is the #2 contender. So it's gonna be a one-on-one match between the #1 and the #2 contender, and the winner would be going up against Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing for the AEW World Championship. Now, who wins this match? I don't know. It could be any guy. I want to say Pac. I want to say Pac because they have history with each other, because Pac actually beat Omega before Omega became, this mega heel. And so we have the Young Bucks. We have the Young Bucks, the AEW World Tag Team Champions. That's Matt and Nick Jackson, versus SCU. That's Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels. And if SCU lose, they will break up forever. They will break up as a tag team. So the Young Bucks, they will retain their titles, and SCU will disband. And then next week we have Tony Schiavone. He will interview Jade Cargill next week. And we have Cody Rhodes. He'll be making a Double or Nothing announcement next week. Whatever that announcement is, I don't know. And then next week we have Jon Moxley, the IWGP United States Champion. Jon Moxley versus Yuji Nagata for the IWGP United States Championship. And then we have, they announced it earlier in the show that, Britt Baker will be challenging Hikaru Shida for the AEW Women's Championship at Double or Nothing. And that's it. That's it for next week. And so right after that we had the main event. The main event, which is the Blood and Guts match, which was the best match on the show, best match of the show. And the only match I was looking forward to, the only match that I cared about on the show was this Blood and Guts match. And so so it was the Pinnacle with Tully Blanchard. So the Pinnacle, they were all wearing white. So the Pinnacle, that's MJF, Wardlow, Shawn Spears, and FTR, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler. And versus the Inner Circle, Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, Jake Hager, and Proud and Powerful Santana and Ortiz. And so all these guys, the Inner Circle, they were wearing jumpsuits, black jumpsuits. And Santana and Ortiz, they were wearing like black and white face paint. So they look really intimidating with the face paint. And so with this match, man, it was the best match on the show. It was an awesome match, really great match on this show. Stiff match too. They were stiffing each other in this match, and it was a bloody match. It was a bloody match. Almost everybody was bleeding. Not everybody, but almost everybody was bleeding. And then but the only thing I did not like on this match, the only thing I didn't like about this match, was the commercial breaks and the ending of this match, which I'm gonna talk about later. And another thing with this, we did not have a shark cage. We did not have no shark cages, and we had the 2 rings throughout the whole show. It was 2 rings throughout the whole show, and we had no shark cages. No shark cages because the War Games. I guess the shark cage would have been, all of those guys, they would not fit no shark cage. So that's why they didn't have a shark cage. They stood outside the cage, and one side you had the Pinnacle, and the other side you had the Inner Circle. And so to start off the match, we had Sammy Guevara, as he promised that he would start off the match in the Blood and Guts match, and Dax Harwood from the Pinnacle start off the match. So Sammy Guevara and Dax Harwood start off the match, and so Sammy, he had went right after Harwood, and so we had a double A spine buster to Sammy. So that was a nice looking double A spine buster. And so Harwood, he had went for the cover, he went for the pinfall, but pinfalls does not count. It was only submission or surrender. And so you have to wait till everybody else get in the match in order to submit somebody and make them surrender. And so both of these guys, they were fighting on the side of the cage. They were on a rope, standing on a rope and everything. Sammy Guevara and Dax Harwood, and then Dax, he had tripped and fell on top of the rope, and so he had clenched at his knee. I was like, oh my God, no. And so so Dax, he was okay. So thank God he was okay. And so Sammy, he had, threw Harwood into the side of the cage over and over and over again. And we had a springboard cutter to Harwood. And then the next entrant, so the Pinnacle, they got a 1-person advantage. They have a person advantage because the heels usually get the 1-person advantage in these War Games matches. So the next person from the Pinnacle came out Shawn Spears, and he came out with a chair. And so we had a nice looking sit out spine buster to Sammy Guevara from Shawn Spears. And so we had Harwood, he was bleeding from, when Sammy Guevara was beating him up, Harwood was bleeding. And so we had a chair shot to Sammy from Spears. And then the next entrant from the Inner Circle came out Ortiz. So Sammy Guevara, he got some help from his Inner Circle mate. And so Ortiz, he had took out Harwood and Spears. And, Ortiz, he had grabbed the chair too, so he used the chair on both Harwood and Spears. And so this is the nice spot in this match. I love this spot in the match. You had Sammy Guevara and Shawn Spears. They were fighting on the top of the rope, and so they was trying to keep their balance on the rope. And so Sammy Guevara hit a Spanish fly. He hit a Spanish fly off of the rope. So he had a springboard Spanish fly to Shawn Spears off the rope. And I was like, wow. I was like, yes. I'm like, dude. I jumped out of my seat. I was like, dang, dude. So that was a really nice spot in this match. And so the next entrant from the Pinnacle came out Cash Wheeler. And so Cash Wheeler at this point, when he got in that ring, he almost slipped. He almost slipped and fell. He was excited to get in that match. So he came in, he almost slipped and fell, but he caught himself. And so yeah, he had hit a clothesline on somebody, man. He absolutely floored somebody with that clothesline. And so yeah, we had an assisted brainbuster to Ortiz from FTR, so that was nice. And so we had the next entrant from the Inner Circle came out Santana. And then Santana, he had fought off FTR. And then he had a Uranagi to Wheeler. And then the next entrant from the Pinnacle came out Wardlow. So, I was like, uh-oh. And this was during a commercial break. So this was during a commercial break. I was like, oh my gosh. I thought that was only going to be one commercial break. But we had so many commercial breaks in this match. I did not like it. So, yeah, Wardlow had came out, and I was like, oh, no, they are screwed. And so, yeah. So, Wardlow, he had stood face-to-face with Ortiz. And so, you know, Wardlow, he had called out Sammy and Proud and Powerful to come fight me. I'm standing right here. Come fight me. And so yeah, Wardlow, he had took out Sammy and Proud and Powerful, so it was a 3-on-1. So Wardlow, he had took 3 of these guys out. And so the next entrant from the Inner Circle came out Jake Hager, and I was excited about this Wardlow and Jake Hager. And so Hager, he had took out everybody. And so he had a Hager bomb to Wheeler, and then he had locked in an ankle lock to Wheeler. And then Wheeler had tapped out, but the tap out doesn't count because everybody is not in the ring yet. And so, yeah, Wardlow and Jake Hager, they had stood face-to-face, and this is what I was waiting for, man. Wardlow and Hager going at it again. And so they were standing face-to-face to each other. They were going back and forth, hitting big man moves. And so the final entrant from the Pinnacle came out MJF. Of course, MJF would have came out last. MJF was not going to start off this match. He was not going to come out in the middle. He wasn't about to come out first, in the middle. But the only place he was going to come out was last. And so I expected MJF to come out last. And so, yeah, MJF came out, picked up the scraps that the Pinnacle had left. And so, yeah, so the Pinnacle had took control of the match. And so the final entrant from the Inner Circle came out Chris Jericho, Le Champion. And so the match, Blood and Guts match, finally begins. So it's either submission or surrender. And so, yeah, so we had the Pinnacle. On this side of the ring, on one side of the ring, and you had the Inner Circle on the other side of the ring. And so they were staring face to face, and they went at each other. So the brawl had broke out with the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle. And so yeah, Jericho, he had grabbed Floyd his bat, and so he hit everybody with the bat, the Pinnacle guys with the bat. And so we went to commercial break, and then we came back from commercial break. The whole ring was exposed. They took off the mat on the ring. All you saw was wood. And so we had a spike power driver spike power drivers. It was a double spike power drivers from Santana and Ortiz to FTR. From Sammy, it was from Santana and Ortiz and Sammy Guevara. So Sammy Guevara, he had jumped off the top rope to execute the spike power driver to both of these guys. And so yeah, we had Chris Jericho. He had a code breaker to MJF, and then we had a coast to coast to Spears with the chair from Sammy Guevara. So that was nice. And so, yeah, we had Jericho. He had hit MJF with the turnbuckle pipe at one point. So they took apart the ring. And so Jericho had hit MJF with the turnbuckle pipe. And so, yeah. And then at one point, you had Santana. He had pulled out a fork. A metal fork. And I was like, dude, where did he get a fork from? And so, yeah, he grabbed the fork. He started licking it and everything. And he just stabbed MJF with the fork. And so MJF, he was already bleeding. He was bleeding from an attack from the Inner Circle guys. And so Santana, he had stabbed MJF with the fork over his head. And so MJF, he was bleeding even more. And so, yeah. And so the crowd was into this match. And so, yeah, the crowd chanting, one more time, and they did it. And so, yeah, so Wardlow, he tried to fight off the Inner Circle, but the numbers had caught up to him. But yeah, so he had took out Hager and Sammy. And so the Inner Circle had attacked Wardlow. And so we had a chair shot to Wardlow from Sammy. So that was nasty right there, man. And so Tully Blanchard, he had took out the referee. The manager of the Pinnacle, he had took out the referee. He had beat up the referee, and he took the key away from the referee to try to get himself in this ring. I was like, totally no. I was like, totally do not get in that cage. Do not get in that cage. And so yeah, he unlocked the cage door, and MJF was crawling out of the cage. And so yeah, so totally he opened up the door for MJF so he can get out of there. And so MJF, he was climbing up the cage and everything. And you had Jericho, he saw it. So Jericho, he went after MJF. And so Jericho, he had saw Tully Blanchard. He just beat up Tully Blanchard or kicked him or something like that, or pushed him to the side. And so yeah, so Jericho was climbing up the cage and everything. And so when Jericho was climbing up the cage, I was like, Jericho, be careful, man. Do not fall. Be careful. And so yeah, so MJF and Jericho, they were brawling on top of the cage. And so yeah. And so MJF, he was pleading for mercy, like, please, Chris, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. And so Jericho, he had locked in the walls of Jericho to MJF. And so MJF, he had to reverse the move, to get out of the move. He had a low blow to Jericho. And then MJF, he had locked in his submission move, that Fujiwara armbar, where he called the salt of the earth. And so he locked that in on Jericho. And so Jericho, he tried to fight out of it. And so he did end up fighting out of it. Well, MJF, he had stopped the move. He had stopped the Fujiwara armbar. And so MJF, he was targeting Jericho's arms and his hands by biting into everything and stomping on his arms. And so MJF, he had grabbed his diamond ring, his Dynamite diamond ring from his trunks. He put it on his pinky and just blasted Jericho with the diamond ring. And so, at that point, MJF, he was yelling at Chris Jericho to give up, like, give up, give up, give up. And so MJF, he had looked over the cage, like over the top, like he was standing over the top of the cage. And so he looked over the cage, and so it was like, oh, he's gonna throw him off the cage. MJF, don't do this, MJF. And so yeah, and so MJF, he had Jericho getting ready to throw him off of the cage, getting ready to throw Jericho off the cage. And so MJF, he was yelling at the inner circle, like, surrender, or I'll throw Chris Jericho off the cage. Surrender right now, or I'll throw him over the top of the cage. And so inner circle was pleading with MJF not to do it, like, don't do it. And then MJF was yelling again, like, surrender. And so Sammy Guevara, he was like, we surrender. So Sammy Guevara had spoke for his whole team saying that we surrender. And so that was it. So the Pinnacle wins the match. And so yeah, so the Pinnacle wins the match, and that was it. With that. And so right after that, you had MJF, he had picked up Chris Jericho, was helping him up, quote unquote helping him up. Of course he was. He wasn't helping him up. So yeah, so he picked up Chris Jericho, acting like he was helping him out and everything. And so MJF, he had pushed Jericho off of the cage. He had pushed him off of the cage onto the ground, quote unquote the ground. It was a pad. And so yeah. So he landed on a pad, and so that was it with that. And so I was like, what? I was like, dude. Why did they? At first, I was like, dude, I knew the type of person that MJF is. I knew he was gonna push him out the cage. I was like, even though they say they surrender, MJF is still gonna push him off the cage. MJF will push him off the cage anyways. And so he did that. And so I was like, dude, the inner circle, they look stupid. The inner circle looks stupid by surrendering. Like, they should have known better. They know, like, you would think that they would know what type of person MJF is, man. You know MJF doesn't keep his word. MJF is a sniveling, slimy guy who would do anything it takes to win. So the inner circle, they look stupid by just surrendering to MJF, saying that please don't push Jericho off the cage, and he ended up pushing him off the cage anyway. So the inner circle, they look dumb. Everybody looked dumb. And so yeah, it was weak. It made the inner circle look weak, man. Jericho, I'm pretty sure Jericho would have much rather took the fall than having his guys speak up saying that we quit and stuff like that. No, it did not make them look strong. They were talking all this big game before the match, and then they look like wimps at the end of the match. They would look like wimps at the end of this match, and so did not like it. Did not like the ending. But yeah, man. But yeah, they had to know better. They knew MJF was gonna push Jericho off the stage. And so yeah, that was it with that. Another thing I didn't like about this was too many commercial breaks. It was too many freaking commercial breaks. It was like 3 commercial breaks. It felt like it was like 3 commercial breaks, and so I was like, man, I thought it was only gonna be one. I thought it was gonna only be one commercial break because we did have one commercial break before the match even started, and so I was like, you know what? I thought it was gonna be that maybe that's gonna be the commercial break, the only commercial that break that they take, but no, it wasn't. And so yeah, that was it with the show. The match was good. The match was awesome, but the ending of the match, I did not like it at all, man. Did not like it at all. The inner circle, they look weak at the end. The last person that you saw was MJF. Why did they just show MJF and not the rest of the team? Why didn't they show the Pinnacle celebrating over the inner circle? They just showed MJF. Like I don't know, man. I don't know. But yeah, that was it. That was it with the show. It was a good show. Most of the matches I didn't care about. I only cared about the blood and guts match. But it was still a good show. And so yeah, that was it with Dynamite, man. That was it with Dynamite. And if you like this video, man, what are you waiting for, man? Hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. And right next to that subscribe button, there's a bell. Make sure you click on that bell so you'll be the first ones to know when my next video will come out, because I am here each and every single week. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. You turn on that bell so you don't miss out. Follow me on Twitter at Ryan Awesome Show. And comment down below, man. Tell me how you felt about this episode of AEW. And yeah, man. And yeah, share this video, man. Share this video with each and every single person, man. And yeah, man, I'll see you guys for Thursday for Impact Wrestling. See you guys for Impact Wrestling. And yeah, man. And if you missed my last week's episode of AEW Dynamite, the video is going to be right up here in this corner. And the link to that video will be down below in the description. So make sure you click on this video and the link down below if you missed it. And yeah, man, see you guys for Impact Wrestling on Thursday. And once again, guys, man, thank you for the support. Thank you for the support once again. The love and support for the show. Thank you, and thank you, man. And yeah, man. And this has been the Ryan Awesome Show. Take care, stay safe, and that's that.